Amazon is great, but how do I sell on Google too? And like, how could the two work together? So, like, for
Okay.
example, if you sell on Amazon, people then search for your brand. So then you do want to advertise on Google too to make sure that, like, when people search your brand, that you're there or you have a website there in case people then go to other listings that aren't Amazon. But like on
Exactly.
Amazon, everybody is there to buy. So that's what makes Amazon advertising so powerful, is that when you're advertising on there, whether they're searching a very broad keyword or a very specific keyword or anything in the middle, brand, non-brand competitor, they're
Exactly.
there to buy. So it's more of, how does your page look? So yes, it matters on Google and Facebook too when you're advertising, but on Amazon, like, the number of reviews you have really do matter. So like when stores are really struggling and they're like not able to compete, a lot of the time what it comes from is, if you're bidding on the right keyword, going to your page and saying, do I have a good FAQ section? Do I have good images and good videos? Do I have a good demo explainer video? Do I have, compared to my competitors, enough reviews? So like, for example, if you're searching a keyword that I'm like, man, this is exactly what I sell, why aren't I selling it? You could search that keyword and then see exactly what your competitors are looking like in terms of their pages. So like, what images are they using? What videos are they using? How many reviews do they have? So it's like, you don't need to have always as many. So say you're in a category and you notice your top competitor has 500 reviews, you don't necessarily need to have 500 reviews, but if you have two, most of the time people are going to pick the one with 500. So if you could get your reviews up from, say, 2 to even in the double digits to 10 or 15 or 20, that's going to help you a lot to compete in the market when people are looking on Amazon and see the ads against who you're competing.
Okay. Welcome to the Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we got Drew Blumenthal. So, Drew, you are doing a lot of advertising. So you are a digital marketing and advertising guru. This is what your LinkedIn page says. Now, give us a little bit of context about this. And as well, maybe we should start, how do you get there? And what is a little bit more about your background?
Sure. So I've been doing digital ads and digital marketing for over 5 years. I actually come from an agency background. So I worked for large ad agencies in New York, and then I went off on my own and started my own agency back in 2017. And e-commerce has definitely been a huge part of what I do. I would say I'm about 50-50 in terms of e-commerce versus lead gen, but I do work with a lot of like Shopify stores, WooCommerce stores. I have done Amazon advertising before in the past, especially when I was in the agency world. So like, I definitely know the differences between Amazon advertising and, say, advertising on Google or Facebook, and also how the two can really work well together, how the two channels can really help each other and to help a brand grow overall in terms of sales. But it's definitely good to know the similarities and the differences, because you might do really well on Amazon and then not so well on your own website, on Google and Facebook ads, and vice versa. So it's just really knowing that on Amazon, for example, you are competing against all the other stores in your category. So while everybody who's searching on Amazon is directly looking to buy, which could be a great benefit, they're also comparing. So, and that also happens on Google Shopping, where you could show up for the perfect keyword and still not get the sale because you're competing against everybody who's next to you. So what I mean in terms of competition is, everybody's really brought to the product page. So what does that product page look like in terms of reviews, in terms of images, in terms of videos, FAQs? So like, for example, if you only have 2 reviews and you want to compete, whether it's Amazon or Google, and then the guy next to you has 50 reviews or 500 reviews, you don't necessarily need to match the number of reviews that that person has, but like you want to try and have more than two. So maybe you aim for 10, or you aim for 15, or you aim for just something where you're able to compete against that person, because people are going to be comparing you to them. The other thing that I really mentioned too is like the images and videos that you have. So like, for example, if you're in the beauty space, people are going to want to not only see the product label, but they're also going to want to see what the product looks like in terms of consistency, in terms of color, in terms of weight, like all of that stuff. So if you just show images of the bottle and not what's inside, like that's significantly going to hurt your conversion rate, because people are going to want to see what's inside in order to make a decision.
Okay. Okay. So we come as well to that point, because you go now out of the ads, for example, because we talk now about photo, we talk about the things which are outside of the listing, obviously. I mean, not outside of the listing, outside of the ads, let's say it this way. So because some people still believe that, like, if they power PPC and spend lots of money on PPC and know how it works, it's fine. But for me, or most of the people know that the whole listing, it needs to be, it's like a closed, it needs to be closed. The everything needs to, it needs to be perfect. It needs to be the picture, the text. It needs to be the A+ content. Anything around the listing needs to be and obviously the product. If the product is not good, then anyway, you get complaints, you have bad reviews and everything. But this is the like a misconception of most of the people. They think like, okay, let's power a lot of money into PPC, and then we take the first place, maybe for a while, but as soon as you cut PPC down, you're going to go down, because your listing is not optimized, or it's not 100%. So this is when we talk about the bottle, for example, what you just mentioned, about the picture, about the presenting, about the lifestyle, about everything. So this is, can you agree that this is definitely—
Yeah, no, that's completely what I'm saying, is that you could put in as much money as you want and you still might not get the results that you're looking for. Like, unfortunately, how much you spend does matter, because there's only so much you can do in terms of like results you can get based on how much you spend. But you could spend $100,000 a month, and if people don't want your product because they don't trust it, because they're not seeing the information that they need to make a decision, and your competition does, then you're going to lose out every single time your competition. Like, a lot of this is you're side by side next to other products that are similar. So you need to be able to beat those people out. And therefore, to beat them out, you need to have those good images, the videos, the reviews, the explainers, like everything that's going to help the algorithm optimize efficiently. And I know that AI is a huge topic right now in marketing and advertising. And like, it's been around for years in Amazon and PPC advertising, just because you optimize for purchases. And if the AI can really grab on and get consistent purchases, that's how you scale. But the AI can only work as efficient as your conversion rate. So that's where people also talk about CRO and conversion rate optimization, because if you can optimize and get the results that you're looking for in terms of purchases, you could scale up your budget pretty quickly, because the algorithm is able to learn, all right, if I show this ad to the person searching this keyword in this location at this time of day. And that's where Amazon and Google and all these platforms get all of these signals, and it's able to optimize based on all those signals if you're able to drive the results. But the results sometimes come from, what does that page look like when someone's clicking on it?
Oh, definitely. Now, as well, we have so many different structures of advertising. We have Facebook, we have Google, we have Amazon. All of these advertising, all of these algorithms, which are all around, are they working together, or what's going on? Are they all separate? What's the differences between all of them? If you could elaborate a little bit of that, because that would be as well very, very good for everyone who's listening, and as well maybe to understand more how to could use Facebook, how they can use Google in order to drive the traffic to their listing, and if it's good, or if it's just yeah, tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah. So one big difference between Amazon and Google is, on Amazon, everybody is there to buy. Whether it's Google or Facebook, there's a billion different intentions that people have. So like maybe someone scrolling on Google's looking for information, or they're looking to read a blog, or lots of different things. If someone's on Amazon, they're ready to buy. So it's about really convincing that person to buy, and they already trust Amazon. So that's a huge plus when you're selling on Amazon, is like you don't have to worry about the people worrying about how much is shipping going to cost? Am I going to get scammed with my credit card? Like all of these things are already taken care of for you, which makes Amazon very powerful. On Google, you have your own store, meaning that if you build a Shopify store, you don't have to pay Amazon the commission fee, and that's great. But you also have to deal with the fact that people aren't going to always trust your store. They're going to look to see if you have shipping, what it's going to cost. So things like that really can make it a challenge. So there's pros and cons to selling on both sides. The best scenario is when you are able to sell on both. And then one thing on Amazon that really affects Google is people searching your brand terms. So like, for example, if you're selling on Amazon, you would want to make sure that you're bidding efficiently on your own brand term, because what ends up happening is people start searching your brand more on Google, and then there's like 3 other competitor ads below your organic listing. So that's one way where when you advertise on Amazon, that you really want to keep an eye on your branded search term to make sure that you're bidding on it to show there. And same thing for shopping too. So people are going to start searching your product on Google more if you bid on Amazon. So setting up that Google shopping to make sure that you show up for when people buy your product on Google. And then the reverse is also true. So like, for example, if you advertise on Google, then people are going to start searching for your product on Amazon. And if you're not there, or your listing, it doesn't look good on Amazon, then you could lose the sale there, because there's a lot of people who might search on Google first and then only buy on Amazon, because there are people that are exclusive Amazon shoppers. And then there's people that will search on Amazon and then look for a store on Google because they'd rather buy directly from the store instead of Amazon. So there's just so much synergy over, where when you can marry the two together and monitor the two together, like you can really scale a store, because there's people on both platforms that sometimes are the same person and sometimes they're different people. So if you only sell on one and not the other, you're going to miss a huge part of the market, because Amazon is so powerful that people only buy on Amazon. But then the reverse is true too.
So because Facebook and Google, for example, they have this, you can break everything down, like down to the last point. You can like funnel your customer already before you actually advertise. You can already bring it down to location, gender, age, all of the business or working or house or kids, or how many kids. This is something which is really advanced in that sense. But now we have this in the US as well. On Amazon US, they are actually beginning to testing this out, the geolocation with the advertising combined, because the US is so big. So it makes complete sense, because the one in Seattle has different buying behavior from the one in Florida. So you have to target them somehow, and how to target through PPC ads. Now in Europe it's easier, because you have the different you have the frontiers, it's different countries, so you can jump from Amazon to Amazon country, and there you have to target automatically, because it's another country. But in the US it's so hard, and it's a stupid country. So I think this is definitely something missing, but now they're bringing it in because somebody just understood
that's so powerful,
the importance of it.
Because I do that on Google all the time. What I find is there's a lot of states that just never convert. So like, for example, there are certain states that I know right away usually don't convert. So like, for example, Maine, I find, doesn't usually convert. West Virginia doesn't usually convert. A lot of the states out west, like Montana and North Dakota and South Dakota and Idaho, I usually look at the data first to make that decision, but I'm able to go and block those individual states because they just end up wasting money. So if that's actually being rolled out on Amazon, that would be a really powerful tool to look into and really look at that state data, because the US is so diverse in terms of population, and every product is different as well. So it's like maybe there's a product that's an outdoor product that would work better in more remote areas. So it's kind of, if you have that data to look at it and then make data-driven decisions on what states to show, you could end up saving a lot of money. The other thing that I see on like Google and Facebook, for example, and I don't know if Amazon has this or not, is like time of day. So like, for
Yes.
example, I find that like 11 to 12 p.m. at night, or like 1 to 5 in the morning, like rarely ever converts because people are usually asleep. So it's like, if they're searching, they might be half awake when they're searching. And it's like, to be able to cut those time of day out, you can end up saving a lot of budget and being much more efficient, and therefore be able to get more sales. And that's like the power of pay per ads. Like, organic is great because you could get so much reach and you're not paying for it. But when you're paying for it, to be able to have that granular control, I feel like that's half of what you're paying for, is that ability to target.
Oh, definitely, definitely. This is the target afterwards to get the customer in the funnel. It costs the most of the money. That's the thing, you know. When once you know your customer, and normally this should not, at our time and age, it should not be, you know, it costs money anymore, because you already should do the research, and with the tools you got, you can funnel it down and target the customer actually you want. So for you, I have another questions for the Facebook and for Google.
Sure.
Do you have any like special strategy which you want to share with us? Like, how, what is your special takeaway? Like, when you advertise on Facebook or Google, what drives like a lot of sales? Like, I know it's a really big question, really big field, but something out of your head. What is the one of the major strategies you're driving?
I mean, on the Google side, I'm sure everyone who's listening have heard of it already, is like Performance Max. So Google actually switched to this Performance Max campaign and really forced it as of July of last year, where it's combined now with search and display and YouTube and Gmail and everything hybrid. So it's like, take advantage of those assets. Like, make sure you write out your full descriptions, make sure you spend the time to give good images in there. Make sure when you're building your audience targeting and your audience signals that you're using retargeting audiences, that you're using custom segments with keywords and competitor URLs. Like, the more that you put into putting that Performance Max together, the better it's going to perform, because it's very, very automated, and these platforms are relying more and more on the AI. So it's like, the more data you could provide to it and the more assets you could provide, the better. And that kind of bleeds into Facebook too, because the more images you could test, the more videos you could test, the more audiences you could test, the more you can leverage the algorithm, because it's very hard to force something. But at the same time, like, you need to feed the data, like you need to provide the audience data, like you need to provide the creative for the algorithm to learn. And if people just don't put in the time and the efforts to allowing and leveraging the AI to learn, like, then you're really going to struggle. And then it's like, well, you need to just put in the time. And especially initially, because once you find an asset that works, or once you find a campaign that works, it's very easy to scale. But to be able to get to that point takes a lot of work and a lot of testing and a lot of getting into the nitty gritty to make that happen.
I agree with that. And for example, between Google and Facebook, what is easier? I mean, what do you think, out of your experience, is easier to handle, or is more responsive? I know both Facebook or Google, they have, you know, you cannot compare really like that. But from the advertising side, what do you think is more affected? What would you recommend better to advertise on? Because, you know, I know, again, there is different strategies which you drive on Facebook, which you drive on Google, but in general, what would you recommend more?
So for usually smaller stores, I recommend Facebook and Instagram first, just because, like, you could create a great asset and then fall into somebody's feed and you're not making somebody compare. So when someone's on Google, similar to Amazon, if they search for a keyword, they're going to compare you. Where on Facebook and Instagram, if you're brand new, people are going to be like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I've never seen this before. And you could get them to impulse buy like an infomercial. Where on the Google side, if people are going to compare you, usually that works more in your favor when you're a larger store or they've heard of you before or you have more reviews. So when you have not many reviews and you don't have good brand awareness, I tend to find that the Facebook and Instagram works better. Again, there's exceptions to the rule. Like there's certain categories where it's very keyword driven, it's very research heavy, but that's what I tend to find as a general rule. And I would always say to test. And like, even if you decide to start with Google, for example, spend $5 or $10 a day on retargeting, just because there might be people that come to Google and then they don't buy right away. And then if they're retargeted on Facebook and Instagram and see those ads as a reminder, they might come back and buy. And like, that's an easy way to get people back, because you never know. Someone might be adding something to their cart on mobile. Their kids might bother them. They might get distracted at work, and then they don't end up buying even though they're interested. So reminding people with remarketing can really be an effective way on Facebook and Instagram, even if you decide to go the Google route.
Sure. Because you mentioned remarketing, what do you think about tools like AdRoll, all this retargeting tools, not remarketing, retargeting tools? What do you think about that? Is it effective, or is it just an extra way to get money out of your pocket?
I think it depends on the size. So like AdRoll, I'd want to see a store be a little bit larger to be able to have that remarketing pool to work with. So like if you're only driving 1,000 people to your store per month, I would say a tool like AdRoll is not the best use of your money until you can scale. But if you're driving 10, 20, 30,000 people, then it would be a great tool to have, because then you're able to remarket in more places and control it. And the other thing that people also lose sight of with remarketing is the frequency. So it's like there's only so much remarketing that you could do before it becomes annoying and harassing. So it's like, that's why I gave the example of $5 to $10 a day, because if you're seeing a frequency, and this is what I go for as a rule of thumb, is again, it's product based too. So the larger the product AOV is, or the average order value is going to be, the more times you're able to retarget efficiently. But I usually say 5 times within 30 days. So you can look at the past 30 days and see what your frequency is. And like, for example, if you're retargeting 16 times in a 30-day period, then you're probably overspending on that remarketing, where that budget should be shifted more towards top of the funnel to bring in more new people. Because if the same person is seeing the ad too many times, one, they're not going to buy, and two, you risk them flagging the ad as harassment, and then your CPCs end up going up. So then sometimes I've seen it where people are remarketing so much that it becomes too much remarketing, and then it becomes a bad thing, because remarketing is a good thing to get people to come back and buy, but it's all about balance. Like, you don't want to just do remarketing and do it too hard where it ends up annoying people and ends up hurting you long term.
Yeah, that's definitely what we don't want. We want people to buy and not to run away. So that's
Right.
a really good advice. One more question. What do you think? I mean, your company and everything that you're running an agency at the moment. So what is your superpower in this agency?
I think a lot of it is I'm the CEO, but I'm also very, very in the weeds. So me actually doing a lot of the work myself, continuing to keep up with best practices, I think that's a superpower for me. And as you could tell, I'm very data driven and very numbers driven. So in order to be successful, you need to be very left and right brain. So you need to be creative, but you also need to be very, very numbers and analytical and be able to tell stories from those numbers. So for me to be able to tell the story from the numbers and then be able to make actions from that, I would say that's my superpower.
Okay, so that's really good. So where can anybody get in contact with you if interested in running campaigns or in knowing more about actually what you and your agency do?
Yeah. So you could find me on my website, Digital Drew SEM, S as in Sam, E as in
Got it
Emily,
here.
M as in Mary, and at Digital Drew SEM. So I'm on Instagram as well and TikTok, and you could find me on all the social platforms as well.
Great, great. I will put this under the video, so all the information will be there. So whoever wants to get in contact with you, who needs ads or has on Google, on Facebook, Drew is definitely doing that digital since years, so he knows in and out from the keywords of how to best place the campaigns for products, for agencies, for everything out there. But please get in contact with him, check out what he's doing. Drew, one last question. What is your
Sure.
message to the world?
Definitely look at the data and make data-driven decisions. Like if I could tell anybody who's stuck, if anybody really needs to get to the next level, look at the numbers, and that should really speak for itself. And if you need help, hire somebody who can read the numbers.
Like Drew, for example, you know?
Like Drew,
Yeah,
yes.
like yourself. I like, you know which one I like? I like the one in this world, you need to be data driven. And as well, your left brain and your right brain need to function correctly in correlation. You know, I like that one as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thank you, Omar, for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Drew. That was great. And yeah, let's talk soon. And I wish you best of luck, and we're following you definitely and on your journey.
Well, thank
you, Drew.
you. Yeah, no problem.